Let's get to a Jamie Carragher piece, getting to football and the great debate over the lethal striker. Jamie Carragher, Sky Sports analyst, of course, writes that Haaland's a great finisher, but he's not world class. Heather, are you surprised we still get so het up over such a subjective issue over who's world class or not?
Well, let's bear in mind that, Carragher is giving his opinion in this, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's the role of a columnist and a pundit, at the end of the day. So we are entitled to get het up over everything, pretty much, when we write columns. Personally, I do think, actually, people are getting a bit too het up over this. I know there's been a lot of debate about the Ballon d'Or, for example, and a lot of this seems to rest on that. Oh, should he be winning the Ballon d'Or? Is he the man? Does he have all the right attributes? For me, actually, he has been an incredible player in his time. I think, you look at the number of goals that he scored last season in particular. I mean, just phenomenal. 52 goals, I think, in 53 games. Does it matter, at the end of the day, whether maybe in the last 3 games there's been a bit of criticism about that, no goals scored against Liverpool or Arsenal or Real Madrid. I do like the stat that they've used in this column that actually there's an 83% win rate for them when they win, and then it goes down, of course, when they don't. But actually, if we're just talking about Haaland, as a player, if he's having, let's say, off days, doesn't mean that that's going to be him in the future, and doesn't mean that he has to question himself. He's got the backing of his manager at the end of the day. And I think, actually, maybe he is just a goal scorer, but does that matter? That is what he does. That is his job. Now, some people will argue, well, actually, you look at Ronaldo and Messi, for example, if we're talking about the Ballon d'Or, they have lots of other attributes, great with assists, they're great feeding off to the midfield, maybe a bit more physical, for example. But actually, if Haaland has been brought on for that key role as a striker, and he is scoring goals the majority of the time, does it really matter in some games if he is not? He's already on course to, I think, 40 this season, something like that. So we have to give him credit for that. My opinion could be completely, off. I don't know. People might not agree with that, but again, I just think, do we look too much into that? Whether actually, again, if we're talking about the Ballon d'Or in particular, whether he has to have all of those. Some people may think he does.
It's a great pub debate, isn't it, John? What's your take? Quick quote here from Carragher. To be truly world-class, you need more than one all-encompassing trait. Thierry Henry, Luis Suarez or Harry Kane have had a major influence on the biggest matches. Surely those goals is the precious commodity in football. If you can score more than anyone else, it must be world-class performances, mustn't it?
Well, I'd like to take that definition apart, really, simply because what is, world class? How do you define it? Cleberson won the World Cup, so does that make him world class? It's just, you can go through the sort of kind of various in the last 20 years, weird anomalies who've lifted the World Cup trophy, and you could argue, does that make them world class? I mean, surely the definition of being in a World Cup winning team is exactly that. But come on, so what we're saying, that sort of kind of, Haaland, can never be that because he plays for Norway, who are unlikely to win the World Cup. I'm sorry, but I think it's a nonsense debate. I think Haaland is sensational. I think he's a world-class player because he's a world-class finisher. He's absolutely phenomenal. His goal return last year in his first season in the Premier League was absolutely incredible. He was the top scorer for the treble-winning team, and they swept all before them, broke all those records. This season is perceived as he's having a bad one. He scored 30 goals. I mean, the guy's an absolute phenomenon. I'm sorry, but I just totally I love Jamie. I think he's great company, great debate. I think he's a brilliant TV pundit, and I love it. I really enjoy his column in The Telegraph. I think he writes with a passion. He writes, always researching it. It's fantastic. But I completely and utterly disagree on this one. Because honestly, I just think it's a nonsense, really. I mean, Mbappe clearly is a better all-round striker. I love Mbappe. I'd always have Mbappe at sort of the top of my list. But I'm afraid to say that Haaland brings something else to the table. He brings goals. And just because he has a couple of off days doesn't mean that he's not a world-class goal scorer who will go down in record books year after year after year and make Manchester City, champions And if he goes on to join Real Madrid in the future or something like that, he'll make them European champions. He's an absolute god of a striker.